Hello, this is Domenico with Easynomics, and this is the second part of the Keynesian Multiplier, Paper 3 practice question, where we're going to illustrate the effect of the Keynesian Multiplier with data that we've calculated from a previous video and workings on some questions. Again, if you need a introduction or review of the Keynesian Multiplier, I recommend this video, which will be linked below. It explains it in full detail, step by step. So in the previous video, which is also linked below in the video notes, we went over questions A and B. Now in this video, we're going to focus on question C. Using your answer in part B, sketch an ADAS diagram to show the impact of the multiplier. In order to illustrate that, we're going to have to use some of the information that we've calculated, so we label that into our diagram. So one of the information points I'm going to need is the total change in nominal GDP that's achieved through the multiplier. In this case, it's $789 billion. I also need the value of the government spending. So the change in government spending is going to be 236.94 billion, which I got right here. And here we have the $789 billion, which was stated right there. So let's make some space so we can go ahead and draw an ADS diagram that illustrates the impact of increased government spending by 236.94 billion, and how the multiplier fully continues to shift out the aggregate demand curve to achieve a change in nominal GDP by 789 billion. Okay, so here we go. Starting from scratch, drawing the model. So we're going to draw our y-axis and our x-axis. Our y-axis, our x-axis. X-axis is measuring nominal GDP in this case. Y-axis measuring prices of goods on average through the entire economy. So that's going to be our price level. And we're going to start with an initial downward sloping aggregate demand curve. So here we have AD, and we're going to label that aggregate demand 1. And the aggregate demand curve is going to shift out due to an increase in government spending. We know that aggregate demand is equal to consumption spending plus investment spending plus government spending plus exports minus imports. And here we're assuming that the government spending is going to increase. So that's going to cause 80 to shift out from 81 to 82. So I'm going to label this. So that's going to be what we call autonomous spending. And the value of that autonomous spending is 236.94 billion. So I'm going to add that. So this is $236.94 billion of government spending that's increasing, causing the aggregate demand curve to shift out from 81 to 82. Then the multiplier effect takes hold. AD continues to shift out from 82 to 83. So I'm going to label that. So here we have a further increase. And that's going to be called induced spending. The total change in aggregate demand will be The distance from 81 to 83 is $789 billion. So the only thing I'm missing is the value here. All right. So here we have induced spending, the change in induced spending will be equal to the change in nominal GDP minus the change in the government spending that started this multiplier effect. So let me just add those values. So the change in induced spending equal to, let's add the values. Change in nominal is 789 billion minus the change in government spending, which is 236.94 billion. So the induced spending after we subtract that is equal to 552.06 billion. And that is the value of the induced spending. So I'm going to add that here. 552.06 billion. Okay, and there we have it. Now, one other thing I could do to help me with my analysis, if I'm asked to analyze this, I can hold the price level constant and also illustrate the value of nominal GDP. So here, price level is constant, and I look at that intersection point here, here, and here. And so these will be points A, B, and C, going from Y1 to Y2 to Y3. So if I was to analyze this, I could explain on the x-axis, we're measuring nominal GDP, the y-axis is the price level. We have a downward sloping aggregate demand curve according to the wealth effect, the international trade effect, and so on, labeled 81. Holding price level constant PL1 at point A, we have nominal GDP at Y1, and then aggregate demand shifts out from 81 to 82 due to a change in government spending, an injection of government spending of $236.94 billion. That is autonomous spending, causing 81 to shift to 82, real GDP increasing from Y1 to Y2. Then the multiplier effect takes hold, causing induced spending, shifting 82 out to 83 by a value of $552.06 billion, thus achieving a total change in nominal GDP of $789 billion as a result of the Keynesian multiplier, as we calculated before, the Keynesian multiplier being equal to 3.33 as calculated in the previous questions. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can feel free to comment those questions below. Don't forget to subscribe and to like. There'll be a couple more videos with further practice on the Keynesian multiplier. And that's it. Thanks so much.